Welcome to our channel. Today we want to share two scholars' ideas about GenAI systems that are neither collaborator nor tutor in higher education. This idea was published in an article named Cut the Bullshit: Why GenAI Systems Are Neither Collaborator Nor Tutor, which was written by Flenady and Sparrow. The rapid development of generative AI has made it possible for GenAI to serve as personal tutor, learning collaborator, and dynamic assessor for university students. Response to this possibility might be separated into three camps. One extreme view supports student learning through interaction with GenAI worldwide. Others then acknowledge ethical concerns and advocates updating teacher practice and regulation to stimulate GenAI's educational potential. Another perspective believes university needs to accept the outcome of student-AI collaboration, but students should take responsibility for the accuracy of GenAI outputs. Meanwhile, some scholars express fears that GenAI might undermine the reading and writing skills essential to the humanities. The authors revisit Plato's skepticism about writing and use Harry Frankfurt's concept of bullshit to argue that GenAI systems are constitutively epistemically irresponsible. They argue that it is pedagogically unreasonable for university students to take responsibility for their AI tutors and collaborators. Then, let's explore their perspective further. Why exactly was Plato afraid of writing? Plato discussed two concerns in the Phaedrus. First, he was worried that writing would atrophy memory, which means that people who are trained in oral culture seem to have superman power of recall, which written culture have is trained for the form of archival memory made possible by writing. Second, Plato was concerned that once words are written down, they escape from their author's control and can be interpreted in various ways, without the authors being present to clarify their intended meaning. This indicates that once written down, it is difficult to determine who is responsible for the meaning of the claim, as well as who is accountable for the effect that the claim might have on those who are unable to properly understand and interpret its contents. The modern academic system has addressed Plato's fears of words being misinterpreted by emphasizing name ownership and attribution, along with providing discipline-specific training to assess claims accurately. Based on this theory, introducing GenAI teaching system is irresponsible because it brings words that lack a clear author into the academic setting, meaning that no one is accountable for them. It also results in students being held accountable for words they do not yet have the ability to properly evaluate. Harry Frankfurt famously defined bullshit as lack of concert with truth, or an indifference to how things really are. The bullshitter is only interested in provoking a response from their audience and doesn't care whether what they say is true or not. Based on this theory, Hicks, Humphrey, and Salter believed that GenAI is neither decided to, nor is capable of truthfully representing the world. Instead, they are decided to convincing light of text. It means that GenAI is designed to produce a particular reaction in its users, aiming to convince users that the response is useful, rather than to accurately represent the truth about the world. Therefore, they are fundamentally bullshitter. Connecting the definition of GenAI as bullshit with the discussion of responsibility for discourse, AI, as a machine, cannot be moral agent who is responsible for its acts, because it cannot provide further reasons as justification for the content it generates. Therefore, GenAI faces not only a responsibility gap, but also a testimony gap, meaning it cannot take responsibility for providing incorrect or inadequate information. Then, the authors responded to the argument for outsourcing responsibility from GenAI to students. Firstly, They believe that this view fundamentally misunderstanding that GenAI's output is a report on the wall. This view mistakenly see GenAI's output as an accurate report about the world, assuming AI systems truly reflect reality, which means that GenAI is designed to produce convincing text, not the truth. Second, it makes students solely responsible for the choosing their work. This replaces the need to share responsibility for ensuring accuracy and collaborative relationship between teacher and students. So why can GenAI not be a collaborator? Collaborating means working together with someone who takes responsibility for their part and can ensure that everyone meets the shared standard of a joint project. But GenAI cannot take responsibility for itself or others in this way. It cannot collaborate and be called a collaborator. In a proper teacher-student relationship, responsibility is bidirectional. University students should hold their tutors and lecturers to account and question their claims and reasoning. And teachers should provide continuous feedback to their students' ideas. GenAI cannot be held accountable for its response at all. Assigning responsibility to students for their GenAI tutors indicates that GenAI systems are not really tutors at all. So, how might students accept responsibility for the work they produce using GenAI? We need to go beyond error checking and assess GenAI outputs according to disciplinary standards. Teachers are responsible for teaching discipline-specific skills to students, equipping them to effectively evaluate the relevance and values of AI-generative or AI-assisted content. But this approach still has limitations because pedagogical responsibility is a shared commitment between teacher and students. This brings us to the concept of responsibility for disciplinary standards. Through speech and writing, students build a sense of responsibility by engaging in such thoughtful interactions with their teachers. However, GenAI tutors will replace this pedagogical relationship. When students begin to feel that they are writing with and for machine rather than human beings, when education emphasizes the need to monitor and revise AI's output, and when submitted papers are in turn graded by GenAI, students will no longer feel responsible for disciplinary standards. The term university comes from the Latin word meaning community of teachers and scholars, which means that a university is made up of individuals who are fully accountable for their intellectual contributions. The author argued that GenAI threatens the university community because it is an irresponsible source of knowledge whose output has no authors to account for it.